War is hell. But then so is Hollywood. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 celebrities you didn't know served in the military.
I got $100 bill, friend, you keep your pills, cause it's all go in the pot.
For this list, we'll be looking at celebrities and famous faces of all sorts who have a surprising or unlikely military history. Not all of the celebrities on today's list will have seen conflict, but all had a real role, rank, and position in the military before and unrelated to their eventual fame. Note that we've tried to be as accurate as possible with the dates, but some of them were difficult to verify 100%.
How often in the civilian world are you put in a life or death situation with your closest friends and they constantly demonstrate that they're not going to abandon you? And meanwhile, at acting school...
Number 10. Private First Class Hugh Hefner, United States Army.
Sex and the attraction between the sexes does make the world go round.
Known today as the commanding officer of a platoon of lingerie-clad playmates, Hugh Hefner's earliest years of adulthood were spent in the service of Uncle Sam.
The bunnies felt we should go this way.
Smart bunnies, Hef.
Armed with a reported IQ of 152, despite his teachers feeling that he lacked enthusiasm, Hefner graduated high school in 1944 and enlisted in the Army soon after. Officially a clerk and typist, Hef spent much of the war writing and drawing cartoons for various military publications until his discharge in 1946. It wasn't all pencil pushing and daydreams, however. Private Hefner earned a sharpshooter badge for his prowess with the M1 rifle, and also graduated from live grenade training, otherwise known as Killer College, fully intact.
So you still have 3 or 4 girlfriends?
Yes, I do. Yeah. They keep me young.
Number 9. Lance Corporal Adam Driver, United States Marine Corps.
And you were a Marine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Following the 9/11 terror attacks, the future Kylo Ren actor sought to serve in arguably the toughest branch of the American military, the U.S. Marine Corps. Serving in the weapons company of the 1st Battalion 1st Marines, the 1-1, Driver was assigned to the 81mm mortar section, but saw no field service. After breaking his sternum in a mountain biking accident, the eventual Master of the Knights of Ren was medically discharged shortly before his unit was deployed for service in the Iraq War. Driver credits his time in the Marine Corps for giving him the confidence to do anything, including re-auditioning for Juilliard, which he did about a year after his discharge.
I was a Marine. I knew how to survive. I would go to New York and become an actor, and if things didn't work out, I'd live in Central Park and dumpster dive behind Panera Bread.
Number 8. Captain James Blunt, British Army.
You're beautiful, it's true.
Sponsored through university by the British Army, James Blunt was required to serve in the military for a minimum of 4 years, and did so admirably.
And I used to be in a business in the army which dealt with life and death, and those were very real. To suddenly have to try and concentrate on fame and fortune, I sometimes struggle with it.
Trained at the Royal Military Academy in Sandhurst, as well as the British Army Training Unit Suffield in Alberta, Canada, the singer was eventually commissioned by the Lifeguards, a reconnaissance unit. In 1999, Blunt volunteered to take part in NATO's mission in Kosovo. It was there that the captain may have single-handedly prevented an escalation in the already complicated conflict.
You actually single-handedly, when you were in Kosovo, stopped World War III from happening.
I'm glad you brought this up.
After leading 30,000 people from the Macedonia border to an airport almost 10 miles outside the Kosovan capital, Blunt and company found it was held by the Russians.
And I see no bravery in your eyes anymore.
When American General Wesley Clark ordered him to gain control of the airport by force, Blunt refused, and eventually, the Russians agreed to share the facility in exchange for food and water.
And when the Russians had run out of food and water, they came back and asked us if they could have food and water, and we said, sure, if you share the airport.
Number 7. Corporal Mel Brooks, United States Army. 17 years old and still known as Melvin Kaminsky, Brooks was tested and placed in the elite Army Specialized Training Program at the Virginia Military Institute in 1944. There, he not only had his first cheeseburger, but also gained what he called a code of honor and behavior. Trained in saber wielding and horsemanship, among other skills, the future comedian eventually became a combat engineer in the 1104th Engineer Combat Group in the 78th Infantry Division. Tasked with defusing landmines, Brooks took part in the infamous Battle of the Bulge, but also engaged in some unsanctioned ideology battles with the Nazis. When the Germans hit Allied troops with propaganda, Brooks allegedly took it upon himself to assemble a sound system and hit back by playing music by Jewish composer Al Jolson.
And I actually heard, I heard they really liked it, you know. I think I could have ended the war right then and there, but General Patton or somebody kept going.
Number 6. Sergeant Drew Carey, United States Marine Corps Reserve.
I was the happiest Marine because I was getting 3 meals a day, which I didn't have before. I was on my own, not living on my brother's couch.
It's hard to picture the bane of Mimi's existence ever having a military career, but with his horn-rimmed glasses and crew cut, all the signs were right out in the open. As it happens, Carey acquired both during his time in the 3rd Battalion 25th Marine Regiment, where he served as a field radio operator. It was during this time that Carey began dabbling in comedy, mostly as a way to make some extra money. Carey stayed in the reserves for 6 years until his comedy career began to pick up. But he repaid his gratitude to the forces by partnering up with the USO to entertain the troops.
All right, folks, enjoy the expo, have a good race, and I'll see you Sunday, okay? God bless you, Semper Fi.
Number 5. Private First Class Jimi Hendrix, United States Army. Just like Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, Jimi Hendrix was a great guitar player, but a terrible soldier. In lieu of serving jail time after he was found in a stolen car for the 2nd time, James Marshall Hendrix enlisted in the Army on May 31st, 1961.
This man was in the 101st Airborne, so when you write your nasty letters in...
Eventually becoming a paratrooper in the 101st Airborne Division, Hendrix didn't go for the whole rules thing. Rarely turning up for bed checks, requiring constant supervision, and often getting shut-eye while on duty. Jimi's military performance only got worse when he asked his father to send him his guitar. After the instrument arrived, Private Hendrix would stay in his bunk and jam. That is, unless his fellow soldiers hid it from him. Jimi's commitment to the 6-string resulted in him being discharged after only 1 year of his 3-year enlistment, although he would later claim it was a broken ankle that did him in. Number 4. Specialist for IceT, United States Army.
For this bass, you don't need a pipe, just a tempo to keep you hyped.
Tired of selling pot and stealing car stereos, and with a daughter to support, Tracy Merrow, also known as IceT, joined the Army and found himself in the 25th Infantry Division. T served in the Army for 4 years, completed advanced infantry training, and even became squad leader during his time at the Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. His old lifestyle didn't completely leave him, however, and IceT was hit with charges for the theft of a rug and received disciplinary action for going AWOL around the same time.
It's so easy to make bad decisions. Your brain just says, so what?
Off-duty, Merrow finally made a good investment when he bought turntable equipment to explore his then-growing interest in hip-hop. T returned to civilian life 4 months early in 1983, when he learned that being a single father entitled him to an early discharge.
OG, original gangster. OG, original gangster. OG, original gangster. OG, original gangster.
Number 3. Ruth Westheimer, Israel Defense Forces.
Of course I have sex all the time, from morning till night, except when I'm on your show.
Best known as an adorable, accented, sex-obsessed, tiny old lady, Dr. Ruth was once an adorable, accented, sex-obsessed, tiny sharpshooter. After losing her parents to the Holocaust, Westheimer found her way to Palestine not long before Israel declared its independence. When war kicked off, Ruth joined the Haganah, a Jewish paramilitary organization and a precursor to the Israel Defense Forces, where, owing to her tiny 4'7" frame, she was made a scout and sniper.
I can still put 5 bullets in a red circle and throw hand grenades. So be very careful.
Even though she was an excellent shot, Dr. Ruth has no recorded kills, although she was nearly killed herself when a shell exploded near her on her 20th birthday, no less, leaving her badly wounded. When she recovered, Ruth moved to France to further her education before immigrating to America in 1956.
Now, a man is very uncomfortable physically in a woman's apartment, so a man will, you know, maybe,
Yeah, not showing that he might have an erection or something like that. Is that right?
That's what I was getting to, yes, the erection.
Number 2, Airman 3rd Class George Carlin, United States Air Force.
This country has been pushing the world around and exploiting the people of the world for a long, long time. And sometimes you have to pay the piper.
If you thought the only time George Carlin spent in uniform was when he played Mr. Conductor, you'd be wrong. Very wrong. Yes, Ringo's Shining Time Station replacement actually spent 3 years in the United States Air Force as a radar technician. After dropping out of high school, Carlin enlisted with the intent of using his GI Bill to fund his way through broadcasting school. As the man was famously profane, profound, and anti-authoritarian, Carlin's time in the military went about as well as you'd expect. Stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base in Bossier City, Louisiana, Airman George was deemed, quote, unproductive, and court-martialed on 3 occasions. This might have been due to his tendency to disc jockey at a nearby radio station while on active duty. We may never know.
Thanks for being here with me for a little while tonight. Thank you.
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Roundhouse, rights and lefts.
So I thought, well, am I going to be a waiter or Top Gun? And I thought I'd try to be Top Gun.
I work in the public school system. It's not that different from this.
Number 1, Master Sergeant Bob Ross, United States Air Force.
And here and there, there's little stones under there that cause it to go.
It may not be a tightly held secret that Bob Ross was in the military, but that doesn't make it any less surprising.
And just begin making all those fluffy little things on top of the cloud.
After quitting school in grade 9, Ross joined the Air Force and served as a medical records technician before eventually working his way up through the ranks to the position of First Sergeant of Eielson Air Force Base. Stationed in Alaska, Sergeant Ross learned and started to develop his signature wet-on-wet painting style, so he could paint quickly while on break during this time.
And it's fun to prepare this canvas when nobody's looking. And when you do this, especially if you're painting for someone, they think it's magic.
Holding the rank of Master Sergeant, however, he was anything but the happy little tree we all know and love. Instead, he was a typical screaming and authoritative drill sergeant.
Are you through grinning? Sir, yes, sir. Bullshit, I can't hear you! Sir, yes, sir!
After 20 years of shouting and making other people clean toilets, Ross vowed to never scream again and took up painting full-time.
I think we're going to call that one finished. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.
Do you agree with our list?
Sir, yes, sir!
Which celebrity's military record surprised you the most? For more guns a-blazing and totally AWOL top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is